Big news for Auburn football recruiting fans today. We have a big-time commitment, a flip, if you will, for the Auburn Tigers at the running back position, a position that will be of need in 2025. Let's get into all the things that you need to know about who this new prospect is, the new commit is, what it means for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. All that's coming up right now. War Eagle Auburn family and a special War Eagle, and welcome to those of you that consider yourselves part of the E2C network family. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live on the replay, Facebook, YouTube, all the different places, times, multiverses, however you got here, whenever you got here. Thanks for hanging out with us and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. For today's live stream, this is a reaction live stream to the breaking news that Alvin Henderson has decided to flip his commitment to the Auburn Tigers from the Penn State Nittany Lions. Still confused about what a Nittany Lion is, but hey, I guess people are confused about War Eagle and Tigers too, so I guess it all goes hand in hand. Despite all that, we're here today to talk about that commitment, of course, what it means for him, some facts that you all need to know about this commitment, and what it means for Hugh Freeze, the Auburn Tigers, the recruiting class. Basically, this is a what you need to know type of reaction show. We're going to give you as much as we can. We'd love to hear from you. It is a live reaction show. So if you are watching live, drop comments, questions, of course, smash the like button. We'll address as many of those as we can about this particular commitment, this particular topic, and then we'll go from there. If you have any comments on the back end, we'll address those for those of you that are watching on the replay. So brand new commitment for the Auburn Tigers. Some opening thoughts for me, Alvin Henderson. This is one that I think a lot of Auburn fans were initially disappointed when he committed to the Nittany Lions back in April, and had hoped that we might be able to flip the script, so to speak, turn the tables, whatever phrase you want to use with this, to get him to decide to stay in state because he's from Elba, stay here to be with the Auburn Tigers. And it looks like as of now that will be the case. Why do I say as of now? Because this is only a commitment. And as you just seen with why we're talking about this, things can change at any moment for anybody. But we will celebrate it for now, talk about it, dive into it. Super excited to have Auburn's first running back commit in this class into the fold, and how it continues to boost this class, the prospect and hopes for the future for the particular unit, the running back room. So let's dive into these things a little bit. Let's start off with some facts, some things that you need to know about Mr. Alvin Henderson, things that are important in terms of measurables, where he's from, all that. We mentioned it already. He's a running back from Elba, Alabama. If you don't know where Elba is, some very southern part on the way to the beach, way down there in the lower part of Alabama. Elba High School is who he plays for, part of the 2025 class as a running back, depending on which site you look at. And while I do not encourage you to over obsess about stars, for those of you that are interested, he is considered right now a consensus 4-star prospect for Auburn out of Elba High School. His current measurables are listed somewhere between 5'9". That seems to be pretty much the case for his height, for his weight, 195 to 200, depending on who you look at. Keep in mind, this guy's he's just now finished his junior year. He's going to be a senior this year. Still some time to grow in terms of maybe weight. I don't know if he'll get much that tall or anything like that. But if you think about it, he will be on the quote unquote smaller side of a running back. You're only as small as you play. I think Sean Shivers is proved a lot of that being a false narrative, especially to certain Alabama players who are still trying to find their helmet to this day. So it's not, I'll use another phrase. It's not the size of the fight in the tiger, or it is actually, it's not the size of the tiger in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the tiger. I almost butchered it, but we got it out. So that's where he's from. His measurables. Obviously, Auburn's biggest competition here was Penn State having to get him to take off his commitment from Penn State to come to Auburn. And you would expect probably Alabama, Florida State to also have been in the mix for this guy, and was in the initial phase of all this. But Penn State obviously was the main competition since he was committed to that. This is something that didn't catch a lot of people off guard. If you follow on social media, I'm sure on some message boards as well, certain experts had started flipping their commitments or their predictions to Auburn being able to get this particular commitment the day before that. So I don't know that this was a surprise for anybody, but maybe the quick nature with which things started transpiring was pretty interesting. Storylines around this guy and around his commitment. We've already talked about him being a flip. And within that flip, why didn't he commit to Auburn to start off with? Well, only Alvin knows. He's not here to tell us that, but I think it probably had to do with a variety of things. We know that we had former interim head coach and running back coach Cadillac Williams here, who was instrumental in getting him here or getting him interested to come here. I can imagine how that didn't help when he decided and maybe mutual decision to part ways as an assistant coach with Auburn. And there's that aspect of it. But you also at the time had to look at the running back room, and with obviously some things that have transpired, which we've talked about a great deal in the podcast and stuff in regard to Brian Petit. You also wonder if there's clearly some extra space opening up in that room, albeit with some unfortunate circumstances surrounding that. So obviously we'll dive into the what it means for the room and for the team here in just a second. But you have to factor that in around storylines. Why didn't he commit beforehand? Why is he flipping his commitment now? You also have to consider he's gotten comfortable with Derek Nix, our current offensive coordinator and running backs coach. And I think there's been some interviews with him really saying how much Derek Nix has meant in terms of what efforts he's made to get in contact, stay in contact, and stay on this guy to be like, do you really want to go up to Pennsylvania? No offense to our Pennsylvania friends. I've got some good friends that live in Pennsylvania, but do you really want to leave Alabama, the state, or do you not want to be part of this place that you feel like is home and that you've already visited a ton? It's not a shock that this guy flipped his commitment to Auburn, but obviously, even though it's not a shock, we're super excited about it and super excited to see where it might take him. He's a big time athlete, plays basketball. And if you know in Elba, not that this matters, a 1A school, and that's going to be like the lower tier of schools, 1A all the way up to I think 7A now. Shouldn't put too much emphasis around that, but it is worth of note that he had, I think, over 3,000 yards as a junior rushing and 61. I think I read that right. 61 touchdowns. Incredible. Even at the 1A level. So that gives you an idea of the skill level, the caliber of who's coming to play potentially for Auburn as part of this class. And that's all the information that you likely need to know about him and what we can gather right now. Let's talk about what it means. What does it mean for obviously this particular commitment himself, Alvin Henderson? Let's also talk about what it means for Auburn's recruiting class, the team when he eventually would get here, and what it could mean for the future of the class as well. Let's dive into the class first and what it means. It's the 16th overall commitment, and if I did my math right, it is the 7th commit from the state of Alabama. We saw Hugh Freeze do a lot of good things with focusing on Alabama in the last class, and he's done that yet again here. There's a stat floating around out there of Auburn, depending on which site you look at and rankings and stuff, which vary, which is why you shouldn't put as much stock as most people do in stats and rankings and stars, because it's all different and it all can change. But right now, Auburn has like 5 or 6 of the top ones out of the state of Alabama to a certain point, the top 10, top 15, something like that. So it's just quite impressive to see what Alvin Henderson's addition to this particular class kind of means, not just across the board, 16th overall, but what it means about the state of Alabama and what it means for, what we're doing to make sure we take care of our home state, our backyard in a sense. And going down to Elba, to me, is not a far stretch for Auburn. It's not super distant from Auburn. There's a heavier Auburn presence in that area in the state. So that really shouldn't shock you one way or the other. But that gives you a little bit of an idea about where we are in the class in terms of priorities with states, where he's from, and of course at the running back position, the first one. More on that in just a little bit. I know that some of y'all are thinking of a certain question right now about that. What does it mean for the team? Well, obviously, we can only go off of what we know currently about this team and what his prospects might be for coming into the team after the 2024 season, part of the 2025 season. You know that Jarquez Hunter is a senior. He's the lead back right now. He will likely be gone after this year. I don't think he has any more COVID years. I could be wrong. Who knows at this point? So you got Jarquez, but then you've got Damari Alston as well, who's still going to be around here and likely, I would think, would take over the feature back role. He is going to be a senior when this guy is arriving. So if you kind of look at how things are breaking down with who's here right now, we know Brian Battie, we can't, it would likely not be part of the running back room going forward because of the circumstances surrounding him, which are very unfortunate, but still getting good news coming out of that situation. So right now you got one guy leaving, in after this season in Jarquez, who he officially fills the role for. But technically you have another spot opened up now with the Brian Battie situation, which means maybe we bring someone else in. But effectively, to answer the question of what it means for the team when he arrives and how he factors in maybe to the depth chart, I think it's safe to say that he could find himself some very early playing time at Auburn, given the fact that Jarquez will be gone. Damari will move into the lead role. Jeremiah would move up in a sense if everything holds as it is right now. And that would put him in a nice position to find maybe some not significant, but decent playing time. A lot of times I stress when you look at these players to not focus so much on will they start right away or anything like that. Will they actually get out there on the field for some significant playing time? It might actually be the case here. And think about it this way too. With running backs, their shelf life these days is very limited, lower. So they want to get on the field quick, get their stats, get their eyes on them to go to the NFL. So I'd expect that you'd probably see him playing at least the 4 games, if not more, when he arrives onto campus. So that gives you an idea there. What does it mean for the class going forward? We kind of already touched on that a little bit. One spot is that it'll be vacated by Jarquez. It's now been filled by Alvin if he signs. There's still the Brian Battie spot that technically needs to be filled. Most people would tell you that there's a couple of commits out there that Auburn has their eye on that are quote unquote bigger bats, with Alvin be on the smaller side, quote unquote. Obviously, you might like to have a bit of a bruiser guy come in to supplement him. It's always nice to have a bigger running back with more of a speed back to kind of counteract each other, to give a little bit of a change of pace, so to speak, about what you can and can't do with certain backs, or what their strong points, not what you can and can't do, what their strong points might be. So that is probably expected. And I would also say, just by numbers alone, expect a second one in this class. So as Trevon Reed used to say for us, and now says for another team, we ain't done yet. So keep an eye out for that. We'll just watch and wait and see what else comes for a commitment in terms of Auburn football and Auburn football running backs for 2025. So there you have it. That is your facts you need to know. The things for what it means for the class, current and future, and of course what it means for the team going forward. If you guys have any final comments, questions, points that you want to bring up on the live stream, be sure to get them in now while I'm doing my reminders, and we'll address some of those here in just a second. But of course, I want to give you reminders anytime we are live about what to expect next from us. Our next scheduled, lots of other things that aren't scheduled, but scheduled live stream is going to be the Auburn Experience, episode 82, live on YouTube at 9 Eastern time. Do not miss it. It is a great time. We talk Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family. And you could probably bet we'll be talking about this a little bit more there too, if that's of interest to you. So don't miss that. We got lots of content we're putting out for you across all platforms, YouTube, Instagram. We got a new interview coming up with the Greater Birmingham Auburn Club that I hope you guys are going to be looking forward to this weekend. So be looking for all of that. Lots of cool things that you can get involved with. A lot of people were celebrating early. Mr. Flaps was saying, I knew Deuce was ours always. Had never lost the faith. Mr. Flaps also says, people say that he won't be good because he plays 1A, but he is not the most offered recruit for no reason. True. And I think sometimes people will find one little thing to nitpick on, whether it's 1A, his size, or something like that. And usually you can point to something that is a refuting of that particular narrative most of the time. Also, as we brought up earlier, Sean Shivers is a good comparison maybe here. And I think Sean was even a little bit smaller than that. And Sean even continued to do well at the Power 5 level playing for Indiana. Little bowling ball, missed that guy. Loved him so much. There you go. Mr. Alvin Henderson is your brand new commitment for the 2025 class, the 16th overall currently at the time of doing this. The first in the running back, the 7th in the state of Alabama. He is probably going to get to play sooner rather than later. There is a lot to look forward to with this guy, and I hope that you guys are excited to see him being part of the class and part of the future of the Auburn Tigers. We appreciate you guys being here, hanging out, spending some time with us, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.